Welcome to episode 5 of the Python with AI series. In this video, we'll learn how to use AI to more easily understand and refactor code that others have written. So for all the previous videos in the series and the Python Basics series, we've written original code on our own by typing ourselves and making use of AI to refine changes. However, most programming jobs in the real world make us work on an existing code base and conquer others' code. So in the real world, we're rarely given a task to do ourselves, and instead, what we get is just someone else's code, and then our boss will ask us to edit the code in some way, be it to fix a bug or just refine the code to make it more efficient or cleaner. So when navigating through a large code base that you don't really know about, it can be useful to give the AI some context on where you want it to look so that you can understand what's going on inside a specific part of the code. So in order to do this, you can use the @ symbol inside the chat to focus on a specific file or section of code. Or when sending the message, you can press Control Enter to make the AI look in the entire folder, which contains all of the code, so it looks in the entire code base. So to get started with this exercise, what we want to do is first go to this GitHub page, which will contain all the resources for this episode in this episode 5 folder right here. So what we want to do is download all the resources by clicking on this green code button and then clicking download zip. And this GitHub page will be linked in the description of this video so you guys can access it too. And then when we click on the zip folder that we just downloaded, you can see there's another folder inside of here that's not zipped, so we can just move it outside. And then we can go to the episode 5 folder in the unzipped folder. And then you can see that there are 4 files here. So out of these 4 files, we just want to select the database, main, and processor files. And what we want to do is drag them to our VS Code window like this. And now you can see these files have come pre-packaged with code in them. So you can see here that this project is a terminal shop program. And so it appears like what it'll do is print out a total that we have to pay based on specific inventory that we have. However, we don't really know the logic behind this because we're completely new to this code base. So we want to know where the inventory is stored and which file modifies it when a purchase is made. So now that's what I asked in this prompt right here. And we want to look in the entire code base here. So we're going to do Control Enter when sending the message. And it says the store's inventory is stored in the database.py file. So let's look at that. And this looks like the inventory. And when a purchase is made, the processor.py file is responsible for modifying the inventory. Which is what you can see here when it updates the stock. So we saw how we can look at the entire code base by pressing Control Enter. to scan the entirety of the code to find specific files that do specific logic. So now that we've learned what each of the files do, we can select a specific file to edit inside of VS Code and ask the AI to make refinements to the code within that file. So we can see here that in the processor.py file, this process function isn't really coded the best. First of all, checking if item is not equal to none is not really a Pythonic way of checking if the item does exist. And also the use of quantity, the quantity variable here could also be improved slightly. And also we want to move this tax calculation and total calculation preferably to a separate function to modularize the code more. So that's what I've included in my prompt. Refactor this code to be more professional, split the financial calculations into a dedicated helper function, and also improve the variable names because QTY is not very descriptive and could be difficult to decipher, and use modern Python standards instead of direct dictionary lookups like how it's used here. And so because we're already focused on processor.py, we can just send the code. We don't have to do control enter because we can just focus on this one file. So now you can see it created a calculate totals function with a doc string, and then it added a doc string to the existing process function. And then you can see it modularized the code, which makes it more efficient and easier to understand. So this works a lot of the time, but often when you're editing code with AI, it might make changes that you might not actually want. So in order to find those changes, you can use a diff view, as it's commonly referred to as in programming, to see the changes from one iteration of the code to the next. So here's the old code for processor.py, which we had before the AI edited it. And then processor new.py is a new file that we created to store the AI generated code. So in order to compare these two with a diff view, we can right click on the old file, processor.py, right click and click select for compare, and then click on the new edited file, processor underscore new.py, and click compare with selected. And now you can see what's changed, what's added, and what's been removed. So you can see the calculate totals function has been added, and then types have been given to the item ID and quantity, and then a doc string has been added. The not equals operator has been changed to is not, and then the total calculation has been changed to use the calculate totals function. And then changing the stock has become more refined. And the print statements have been removed because those are just debugging statements. So that was the last concept we're going over in this video. So now we're moving on to episode 5, challenge. So what you want to do is go back to the folder from earlier and then drag in the discounts.py function, as that's the code that we're going to be refining for this challenge. So what you want to do for this challenge is first check if discounts.py is referenced anywhere inside the other files already. So what you want to do is ask the question to Windsurf. So it should say no because discounts.py wasn't being used before. So secondly, you want to ask Windsurf to edit the discounts file so it's more professional, having a doc string, defining data types for every value, and making variable names more descriptive. And the final step that you want to do is ask Windsurf to edit processor.py so that it processes code strings to effectively apply discounts when calculating the order. This concludes episode 5 of the Python with AI series. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And make sure to look out for episode 6 when it comes out soon.